Jesse here with OBX Millennial, and today we are going to be designing our dream floor plan in The Sims 4. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about housing. I think we all know that the housing market in 2025 is complex, for lack of better words, and the desire to not start a full cussing rant here on YouTube, mixed with the mortgage rate. And buying a house isn't easy. I am currently house hunting, and as a millennial, I have run into the typical millennial issue with trying to find an affordable house in today's market. That is something I will get into in another video, but just to give a little backstory, I am actually in the process of looking for a house, and I am planning to relocate. While I love the Outer Banks and I have wanted to be here my entire life, and I have loved every minute while I was here, it is also very challenging. And that is something else I will get into in another video, because I know there are a lot of people out there who have grown up visiting this area and absolutely love it just like me. And they want to know, what is it like to live here? What are the good parts? What are the challenges? And there are a lot in both categories. And it is something that I feel like I have a lot of great knowledge on that I can share. So look for that in an upcoming video. However, circling back, as I said, I am house hunting, and I have been doing a lot of house hunting in my life. I would say early on when I was a kid, and I think many of you can relate, we grew up with a lot of HD TV on in the background. And maybe that set some unrealistic standards for what we want in a property, whatever. But either way, they were really addicting shows. I loved watching House Hunters. I liked all the renovation shows. I like the Property Brothers, which I guess is a little more modern, but I remember watching Bob Vila when I was really young, and I loved it. And it isn't really a show that a young person would like, but it was something that I really loved. I also was obsessed with drawing cities and houses and little towns when I was a kid. I don't know why. At one point, I really thought I wanted to be an architect. There might be another, version of me out there that is in another universe. Math. I really hated doing math in school, even though I was good at it. I didn't like it, which is a little ironic because my job now is primarily in finance. So I don't really know what happened there, but I dropped the architect plan. But aside from just drawing, houses and towns, like the outside structure, I loved drawing floor plans. Now, when I was maybe 8 years old or so, my parents actually built their house. After being in a rental for a long time, they saved up, they bought the land, built the house, and I remember seeing the floor plans and just, being really into it. And so I would draw floor plans of different houses. I would sketch them in notebooks and on computer paper and make all these elaborate details. Flash forward to February 2000 when Maxis released The Sims. Now that was game-changing in the game community, and for someone like me who was obsessed with everything related to, houses and house design and floor plans and everything else, I understand that the point of the game is to create and play with characters through their life. And that can be a fun aspect, and a lot of people play it that way. I liked just to build houses. And as I have grown up, I have never stopped playing The Sims. I now play The Sims 4. I'd say I play The Sims fairly often. Sims 4 has been an integral part of, just a relaxing weekend when I don't want to do anything else. Especially after I have looked and searched for houses all week and have come up empty, or have come across just the most poorly designed, dysfunctional fixer-uppers, and using that term, kindly. It can be really therapeutic to just go in with unlimited funds and design whatever, what house you really want. So in my house search, I have definitely, as I mentioned, come across a few homes that were poorly designed. like a main level with no bathroom, no, closets or pantry. And then there's one bathroom upstairs for all the bedrooms, and then one down in the unfinished basement. Just, I don't know who would design these things. I don't know what they were thinking. I realize, many decades ago, we didn't know how important pantries were, or, other features like that. And everyone shared one bathroom. You didn't need a primary ensuite and everything else. But some houses are just so bad. The design is so bad, the layout is bad, the flow is bad, and it's frustrating because those are the type of houses that are, in the price range for a lot of millennial buyers, unfortunately, given the average or median home price in the country right now is, I don't even know what it is. I will put it up here. But houses that fall in that range often need some work, and the floor plan isn't always great. So I was looking at a house the other week with my cousin, and it was crappy, to say the least. And I just thought, who designed this? Like, what were you thinking in terms of functionality? And I started picking it apart. Like, there should be, the closet should be here, and why isn't the oven on this side? And like, who put the toilet facing this direction? And, you know how it goes. If you've ever spent your evenings scrolling through Zillow wishing that you could afford half of the homes that were on that site. If you know, you know. So then my cousin and I started discussing, what is a dream floor plan? Like, what is the ideal layout? Because, everyone does have different preferences. For example, I like 2-story homes. I think primary suite should be upstairs, and a lot of people and a lot of home builders put the primary suite downstairs. I understand it's personal preference, but for example, that is something to consider when you're thinking about your dream home. Obviously, I understand I am going to be purchasing a home that I will have to do some work to, but fantasizing can be therapeutic. So I decided to sketch up, in my opinion, what is an ideal floor plan for a reasonably priced and sized home circa maybe 2015, 2018. This design in 2025 is, easily probably $750,000 somehow, despite it being, 70% less than that a couple years ago, but whatever. So I thought it would be fun to draw up this design and then make it in The Sims 4 and just, see, does it actually look functional? Does it look like it could work? Maybe I will see it laid out and think, oh, actually something should be somewhere else and I was wrong, or, whatever. It's fun. So that's what we're going to do. So as you can see, I just sketched this in Microsoft Paint. It's nothing fancy, but this is, in my opinion, a dream layout for a house. So we're going to go to the first floor. Obviously, you need a 2-car garage with plenty of places for workshop type items, your tools, also your gym equipment. That's going to connect to the mudroom. Outside is also going to connect to the mudroom. Obviously, you need a half deck, a sun deck, and a half screen porch. You can also call this a catio for people who are cat fans, like myself. The front entry would be here. There would be a little covered porch, nothing fancy. Obviously, you might walk right into a little hall closet. To the left, through an opening, is the living room. This is just a loose layout of how things would fit. To the right is the kitchen. I like kitchens with islands, and I like a big pantry. I also think a stairway right coming down to the foyer is nice, just personal preference. Then you can see back in this hallway, I have a guest room. Guest room should be separated from the main bedroom, so guests can feel like they have their own space. They can get up early in the morning or, late without worrying about waking up the person who owns the house. In particular, if you have family or parents, like I do, who like to get up at 5 a.m. and make coffee in the kitchen, won't bother you if you're sleeping upstairs. Also, this is a personal preference to me. I hate having the primary suite downstairs. I don't understand it. I know some people love it. I do not. So absolutely no main bedroom downstairs. Obviously, there is a bathroom with a shower for the guests, but also the half bath for the whole area. And then you can see that hallway connects to the dining room, which circles back around to connect to the kitchen. I do like having a formal dining room. I think that is really nice. Also, that is the way to get out to the deck, which is easy. If you got a grill out there, you can come straight through to the screen porch, come down this hallway to the kitchen, or just put the food directly on the dining table. Then, because I didn't mention this little squiggly line, it should be a fireplace. I think fireplaces are really nice. Over on the top floor, obviously this is where the stairs come up. There is a linen closet right outside. You should just always have closets. There should always be storage space, in my personal opinion. That takes you to a landing room, which, in my opinion, could be like a little game table. Even though you're probably entertaining mostly downstairs, sometimes it's nice to have like a little section if you just wanted to store all of your games. I'm a big gamer, so I would like to have a room where I store all my board games. If I added a basement to a house, like a downstairs basement and bar, would be ideal. This is like a cheaper layout in my mind. So we'll put it right there. And then I need an office. I think everyone needs an office. Sometimes you need to do your bills or you need to do financial planning or whatever it is. I work from home, so having an office is essential. Of course, then there's a nice bathroom right there that is shared among anyone. A game room is also a second area where you could easily put an air mattress if you did need more space. Same thing with this room, which for a normal person, maybe you could make it a second guest room, second living area. I'm into my crafts, so I think a craft room with a day bed and a lot of built-in shelves, that is my dream. Obviously, this comes over the screen porch, and then this is the sun deck underneath it. Let's talk about the primary. The primary bedroom should be large, in my opinion, with lots of windows, with an ensuite bathroom and a walk-in closet, which in my opinion should also each have windows. I am all about natural sunlight. I lived in small little rentals most of my life, and I love light and sunshine, and I want to be able to open my windows and let in the fresh air. And so this is my dream. So this is what I sketched up in Microsoft Paint. Like I said, just talked to my cousin. So I decided, this is what I visualize in my head. Is it feasible? I don't know. Let's make it in The Sims, because that is a place where everything is feasible and money doesn't matter. So I built my home in Brindleton Bay. It is a 40 by 40 lot, and it is picking up around $234,000. I did put it on the gallery, which I will go over at the end of this video. If you want to download it unfurnished, it probably will be a little more reasonable in cost, and you don't have to have the same landscaping if you wanted to put it on a smaller lot. The house itself is not that big. All right, let's get right into it. All right, so this is the home at a glance. You will see the shape is very, rectangular, square, very standard. Personally, I actually like a lot of angles in buildings. But I think anyone who has played The Sims 4 knows there are certain limitations to angled walls, curved walls, etc. So I just kept this very basic to get my ideal layout across, which is why I also drew it similarly with just the basic, four-corner angles. So with the top-down view, you can see this is very much the same layout that I drew on Microsoft Paint, except with some actual colors and, furnished. So we have let me start with the front door. We have the front door here, a little foyer, you immediately go into a closet. And if we hook a right, we're going to come into that big spacious kitchen with an island. Once again, I just used items from custom content or from the Sims packs to make it look nice and get the point across. This is not necessarily like my personal design choices. I was just working with what I had. The layout is really what I was going for here. And you can see that there is an opening into the mudroom / the laundry room. And of course, there is a nice, luxurious pantry. Everyone needs a pantry. Food storage takes up more space than you think. A pantry is a must. And of course, this kitchen also leads to the dining room, in which I have included a nice little bar. I do have a piece of furniture that is a bar that I love, that I purchased a couple years ago that has moved with me, and I will be putting that. Who knows where I'll be putting it when I buy a house, because it depends on what kind of space I have. And then if we come back over to the left, once you walk in, you reach a nice living room. And as I mentioned, I love a good fireplace. I just think it is a classic feature in a home. And how nice is it to decorate a fireplace for Christmas? Then you have plenty of open space in this hallway. Right around the corner, we have another closet. You never really can have too many closets, especially right across from a bathroom. You should have a linen closet, as well as the extra bedroom. So you can keep sheets, extra toilet paper, paper towels, whatever you need. Closets are great. So here we have the guest room. I went with like a rustic vibe with the colors and the Sims. Personally, I'm not sure what color choices I will put in my guest bedroom. I have a white queen bed frame for the guest bed, and it'll probably be something a little brighter and more beachy. In my living room, personally, I have a lot of yellows and salmon colors. In my kitchen, I like a red, salmon, anything in that realm. I really like the bright bold colors. So for my floor plan, you can see I have the full bath right here, which everyone can access in the downstairs. You should always have a bath in the main level, in my personal opinion, and it is a full bath instead of a half bath, so the guest room has access to it. And if you don't play The Sims, you probably don't know, but this is a closet feature in The Sims. So always have to have a closet in the bedroom. It doesn't have to necessarily be a walk-in closet since this is a guest room. And then that connects to the dining room through this hallway. So once again, if you play The Sims, there's not really a screen porch feature. So I used windows to make it kind of look more like a sunroom. Same basic concept. I don't actually want a sunroom in my house. I want a true screen porch. I love going outside, but would like to be protected when it rains and also be able to let my cats out there without worrying about them, getting loose. So screen porch or screened deck, that is what this is supposed to represent. I don't know what happened here. There appears to be an extra sink. Please ignore that. One thing I wanted to point out in the laundry room, I like having a sink in there. I think it's good to have a sink in a mudroom. You never know what needs to be washed that's coming in from outside. And you really don't want to wash that in your kitchen sink or the bathroom sink. So I love having an extra sink. And then right out through the screen and porch is a nice open deck. This is not covered, so it is a sun deck. I like having a little patio table myself personally, and of course a grill. I just did very basic landscaping out here, some garden plots because I personally like gardening. Again, I really didn't focus on this too much, but if you do download this, there is a lot of space to add, pool or to expand or, do whatever you want. Or you can put this on a smaller lot if you don't really want to have a lot of exterior space. So if we come back to the front, I want to talk about the garage for a minute. I like having a garage. I don't necessarily always need to park my vehicles in there, but I think it's great to have storage space and a place for, like, I've got the woodworking bench in here to represent, tools and anything else you would need to keep in this area. I have the gym, the bikes, the gardening supplies. And of course, everyone knows we need the Christmas decoration bins. In my real garage, my dream garage would have a lot of built-in shelves so I can keep things like storage bins. I do keep a lot of decorations as I'm someone who likes to decorate and I need a place to store those. So that is the garage. that is only one level in my dream home. The home itself is the second level. So if we flip back downstairs really quick, you can see I've got a curved staircase right here in the middle. And then when you come upstairs, here is an overview of the layout for upstairs. As I mentioned in my walkthrough of my drawn layout, this is like a game room landing. I put a dartboard and a game table here in The Sims. You could put a pool table in here if you have that pack, or whatever you want to put. It's not really a good place for storage shelves, but just representing keeping a lot of games, maybe some books. And of course, there is a closet here as well. Once again, can't have too many closets. In this corner, we have another bathroom. I did put double sinks in here just because it's a pretty big bathroom. Not really necessary, but I thought it was nice. I did make it a full bathroom again, added the tub. This game room or this extra room over here that I'll show in a minute is a great place for air mattresses or a sleeper sofa. So, sometimes you have more guests and you need some extra space. So it's good to have an extra bathroom up in the upper level because you don't want people coming in the primary suite. All right, so this is the office. I like a classic simple desk facing, away from the wall. Where I am sitting right now, you can see I'm sandwiched between two walls. It just wouldn't quite fit in this room in my rental, but this is kind of the layout I would like in an office. These represent all my storage cubes, which you can see I have a lot of. And, just keep it bright and airy, have some extra seating when you get tired of sitting at the desk. Everyone needs a nice office, especially if you work from home like I do. And then if you come through this side, this is a second bedroom / in my personal dream layout would be my craft room with built-in cabinets for storage, maybe a seating area with a fold-out sofa, whatever works for you. I love doing crafts. I love DIY. I would love some space for painting, maybe doing some woodworking. I love crafting. So, and of course, I did add a little TV in here. If you download this and you're not into crafting, which is not really in Sims gameplay, something you'd be using this a lot for, you can maybe put the easel in here or some of the other activities, like a skills and activities room. But a spare bed would also be great if you wanted to make this an extra room, or if you have a family, it would just be another great bedroom. If this was an actual bedroom, I think it would need to have its own closet. I took it out of this room when I was designing this just because I wanted to have one big open craft room. And now to the primary suite, right through this door. I like a lot of open space. Not everyone does. I don't want a lot of clutter in my bedroom personally. I want it to be like an oasis. I have lived in a lot of crappy rentals in my life, which I just had to make do with the way they were laid out or the size. I am in one right now that is very cramped, and just through the years, it has made me value big open space. I just want a lot of space around me. I hate when things are really cramped and there's a lot of clutter. It's really not my style. It's just what I've been living with the past, 2 decades. So a big open space with very little in it is my dream. Bedroom, obviously, in real life, you would have a lot more, here and there. And you could make this much smaller if you're playing in The Sims, because obviously a lot of this space is not functional in gameplay. You don't need a lot of space for The Sims. So, and then as I mentioned in my drawing, I have a primary closet and a primary ensuite bathroom with windows. Windows are essential. I love bright open spaces. I have also lived in rentals that have very limited sunshine potential. I am in a room right now with one window. It is very dark, and I just crave open space and open windows. So there you go. That is my dream floor plan in The Sims. Here's an overview one more time, and we'll go down to the bottom level. It is on a slide foundation, as I also prefer to have a deck or a porch moment more than just a flat patio. I like being off the ground a little bit. So everything size-wise or height-wise is very intentional to what I prefer personally. Once again, if you download this build, functionality speaking, you can change it around a lot. Now, if you play The Sims 4 and you are interested in using this home, I have put it on the gallery. I did use a couple mods, particularly the garage doors and some of the furniture pieces, but if you download it unfurnished, you should be able to go from there, even if you only have base game. Just search hashtag OBX Millennial. So I'm dying to know, what is your dream layout? What do you want in your dream home? What makes it functional for you? What size? How many bedrooms? Where are they located? What are your must-haves? I know everyone has different preferences, so let me know in the comments. For more content like this, go to www.obxmillennial.com.